the parental disapproval syndrome. We've experienced disapproval from our parents in some form or another, even if, as I said, the gentleman I worked with before was continually getting affirmations. Well, he was getting affirmations because the affirmations were laid on because he wasn't behaving the way his mother thought he should. Someone was giving him positive affirmation, manipulation. And part of him got that. I had to learn in working with him to choose my words very carefully and very precisely, not gratuitously adding on. So you could smell that a mile away. He was a great teacher of mine. Be very truthful and precise when sharing feedback to another person. So we got these corrections in our behavior, and the corrections were there, and there was actually a positive intention that was delivered with some limiting thoughts. Jim, tuck your shirt in. I always check before I come to class here, is my shirt tucked in. Jim, tuck your shirt in. Well, what is that? Why was I given that? Well, tuck your shirt in because if you walk around looking slovenly, you're not going to be approved of, accepted in society, hired. You'll be shunned, you'll starve, and you'll die. So death was behind parental disapproval. All of these things that we were taught, there was this fear lurking behind it. And I, as a parent, now have to shape you and to get you into something that I think is going to survive and maybe even make some good of yourself. And so a lot of disapproval actually was for the parent to feel good about that they were being a good parent. There was a good intention behind it.
Joe and I had, you're going to be a know-it-all, so I'm never going to give you any approval or compliment anything.
Did you hear what Brian just said? What he's talking about is the mal okio, which is if you say good things about your children, you're putting the evil eye on them. Something bad is going to happen to them. This is a tradition. Oh, my son, he's a doctor, but he doesn't have a large family. He works in a small town and drives a crummy car. This was a tradition. It was actually passed on. It's not in great favor these days, but there's still remnants of it. Don't get too big for your britches. Don't get a big head. And all of this stuff that we were taught, it actually had a positive intention behind it, but it takes some work to get to that. We end up saying it to ourselves. Before I came down for the second part of the session today, I checked my shirt, make sure it was tucked in. I stood up straight. As parents, and not even as parents, could be teachers or fellow workmates or whatever, we tend to have this criticism that automatically pops out. Now, if we can be aware of that and go to what is actually the loving intention behind that, and go to the loving intention, we can eliminate all of the criticism. And we can start doing it with other people. Lo and behold, the grand prize is to stop doing it with ourselves and to catch those criticisms when they come up and recognize the fear behind them. Because it's not just about stuffing the criticism. Stop criticizing. Be nice, say something nice to yourself. Well, you can do that, but still be holding on to the fear. So it's getting to the truth underneath. What is the fear underneath that dissolves the pattern? So parents invalidate kids the same way they were invalidated. It's the legacy of unconscious behavior which gets passed on. We smother self-esteem in the name of trying to be a good parent or trying to help others. We're together to look at this stuff, admit it, but not hang on to it. It's part of our covenant, why we came together. People who focus on and are helped to build their signature strengths, the things that they don't do so well, start automatically getting better. What you focus on is what increases.
The
What?
Black author Toni Morrison said, self-esteem is, did the eyes of the parents light up when the child entered the room? I know I healed my history imagining that with my own parents.
Oh, that is so beautiful. What a wonderful sharing. Thank you. It's again how we be with our kids. I had this experience with my daughter when she was, I don't know, 6 or 7. Things were rationed for me as a child, again, to teach discipline. And so we'd have once a week, we'd have a small glass of soda. Things were rough in the old, no, that's not the story. Things were rationed out. Candy was like a 1 piece a week, things like that. Well, my wife was not about disciplining our kids that way, and I like went along with it. And my daughter would just eat lots of candy. What is with this? And I would like struggle inside. Oh, it's bad for your health. Until one day it occurred to me, oh, I'm doing all this stuff to try to change her so I would feel good. I would feel like a good parent if I got her to ration her candy. Candy was like hidden in my childhood. And then my wife has like candy out for people to take when they want. What is this? Way out of my comfort zone. And so until you learn discipline, until you learn not to say, just to say no. So I said to my daughter finally one day, I said, when I see you eating lots of candy, I start to feel bad, like I am allowing you to do something that will hurt your health and be bad for you. And that's why I'm trying to introduce these rules about, I told her, I said, I feel like a bad parent when I see you doing that. She got it. She didn't eat candy in front of me from then on.
But something that has helped that I've seen parents do more often that are kind of coming to the more conscious based reality is just like options, like having like what you were saying, having conversations with the child, but more giving them like an open perspective on the options. So maybe a rough example would be like giving them like 2 sides of the coin so that they can choose kind of like their own perspective from it. I think that gives the kids a lot of self-esteem, like a self-esteem boost when they can make their own kind of conscious decision rather than.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the fact that you took the time to help them get an understanding. Since most of us are used to heavy doses of parental disapproval, we will create upsets that will make our partner disapprove of us. In other words, it's just familiarity. Sometimes partners will outsmart you and they won't disapprove of you. So you'll have to go find disapproval elsewhere. And you can usually find it at work, you get the boss or whatever, you find disapproval. And ultimately, if you can't get the world to disapprove of you, you can disapprove of yourself. Yeah. But again, this is not hopelessly neurotic. It's like we're looking to work through these patterns of this is how we love one another. Another thing that came from Europe. What you're not telling your children who they should marry. You're not telling them what part of town they should live in. Don't you love them? If you're not telling your kids how to live, it's a sign you're not being a good parent. I mean, this was a belief system. So if a person is really steeped in that parental disapproval and you just give them unconditional love, you can get resented for it. What is all this nicey, smiley, I'm wonderful stuff? He'll be rejected. There's this phrase that says, when Peter tells me about Paul, it tells me more about Peter than Paul. What does that mean? So, Brian, let me tell you about this friend of mine, Frank. This guy, he thinks just because he got a breathwork certificate, now he's God's gift to the breathwork world. And this guy's ego is just like, so I hope you're not like
Who's he?
him at all. Right. So I get to telling you all my judgments about this guy. Who am I telling you about? You don't really know what that guy is like. You know what I'm like, though. I'm the guy with all the judgments. And what are my judgments about? Well, they're usually about things that I wouldn't approve of about myself. Things that I would like to deny in myself. Who's big ego? Like Brian was right on the ball with that. He got that right away. Right? All right, we're going to do an exercise. And this exercise, the warning on the package is, this is not about criticizing our parents. But it is about being honest about the things that we were uncomfortable with and how we related to them. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to take a piece of paper and you're going to write 3 things I disliked about relating to my mother were, 3 things I disliked about relating to my father were, and 3 things I dislike about relating to my present partner are. And this is your most recent partner, whatever partner. So just go ahead and write it down. 3 things I disliked about relating to my mother were, 3 things I disliked about relating to my father were, 3 things I dislike about relating to my present partner are. That's what your partner does that bugs you. What they did that bugged you. Okay, you're going to go into a breakout room now, and you're going to share 2 minutes each with what similarities you recognize in patterns that you had with your parents with your current partner. Now, I'm not saying they're all going to be similar, they're going to be different, but just notice what patterns, and maybe more with one parent than the other. Each person is going to have, well, say, a minute and a half to share what you notice that's instructive for you in these patterns. Okay, this exercise is very embarrassing for me. It's like bing, 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 right down the line. It's how it was with my mother and how it is in my parents. But I'm aware. I'm growing in awareness, folks. The good news is because of awareness of it, I took a lot of the sting out of it.